Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efene. Malabite.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Rufai. Both of you were literally standing on the U.S. election yesterday, physically and literally. Tundu, you had to sit. I know why. Good morning, Tundu.
Thank you for being discreet.
Now, let's start the review with Nigeria's newspaper of records, these day newspapers. Lead story, Northern Governors Monarchs meeting divisive, says Southern Middle Belt leaders. Reject regime change label on end SARS protesters. Call not doesn't dictate to others, says the Arewa Consultative Forum in their reply. Now, the Daily Independent also reporting the same story. Nigeria can't be run the same old way. Southern Middle Belt leaders condemn Northern leaders meeting with regions governors. One, no part of country must play supremacist role again. Now, the Punch newspaper, something else. Loans. 2021 proposed 6 trillion naira loans. PDP, APC clash over federal government's fresh plans. That's Manufacturers Association, demands caution. Buhari has insatiable appetite for loans. Will soon borrow from Togo. That's PDP speaking. Reply from APC. Opposition party disturbed. We are succeeding where it failed, says APC. I will just underline, we are succeeding. And move to the next newspaper, Nigerian Tribune. Lekki, Southwest ministers want role of military probes. ICC begins probe into shooting of NSAS protesters in Nigeria. Sanwo-Olu signs executive order on Lagos rebuilding plan. Human Rights Commission panel receives 150 petitions. Yes, the Vanguard newspaper, same story. NSAS, World Court x-rays crimes against protesters. International Criminal Court opens inquiry into crimes committed, crimes in quote now, committed during the NSAS protests. Ministers from Southwest submit report to Federal Executive Council, asks federal government to probe military involvement in Lekki shootings. Now, the Guardian newspaper, Nigeria's The Guardian newspaper. ASU, federal government talks suffer setback. Yes, the academic staff union of Nigerian universities in the public universities. Now, as NASU, that's the Non-Academic Staff Union, and SANU, Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, reject ASU's UTAS, unveil own payment platform. I saw this coming when employers want to dictate how their employees want to dictate how their employers should pay their salary. ASU came out with its own software. Now, NASU, SANU, they are also coming up with their own software. Now, we expect that if there are problems with the IPPIS, softwares are not written in stone, errors can be corrected, they can be upgraded. I thought that is the way they should go, but ASU believe they have their own software. Now, NASU, SANU, coming up with their own software. Confusion, you will say, that you will have in the university system when it comes to payment of salaries and allowances. Now, Daily Trust newspaper, robbers take over Benin, Auchi Road, target bank customers as a result of police absence. Pregnant woman killed in Kaduna, vigilante commander murdered in Rivers. Everywhere porous clerics restore confidence. Ministers tell Buhari. Of course, the Nation newspaper decided to go foreign, Biden close to victory. But let's just look at how the foreign newspapers are reporting this story. All the major newspapers in the UK reporting from the USA, if you will. The Times of UK, America holds its breath. Biden ahead in closest contest for 20 years. Trump accuses rival of trying to steal votes. Now, the Daily Mail, also of UK, puts it this way. Donald Trump, yes. In ninth edge election, Biden says victory is in sight, but Trump calls result a fraud and sends in his lawyers. Now, one other newspaper in the UK, the Metro, the free newspaper, simply put it this way: make America wait again. And they are waiting for the results. Now, of course, if you come to the USA itself, the Washington Post, as Biden nears 270, Trump signals legal bliss. Litigation could draw out contest. Democrats say they are prepared. President attacks vote counting challenger says victory is in sight. Challenger says victory is in sight. Speaks of unity. Now, the New York Times, yes, the New York Times, Biden builds an edge in crucial states as Trump challenges the vote. Buoyed by Wisconsin and Michigan, Democrats seize a path to victory. Yes, President Trump, expectedly, I will say, is also trying to create some confusion there. Stop counting in Pennsylvania. Recount Wisconsin. A case, Tundu, as you lawyers will say, approbating and reprobating at the same time. Where do we stand? The election record turnout, the highest in 120 years. Of course, 137.4 million Americans voted. And of course, that's 66.9%, almost 70% of Americans turning out. But how will this end? Joe Biden edging closer to victory. An unusual thing happened. The president came out to declare victory the morning after. Quite an unusual. But again, for Biden to come out to also project victory, some are saying, why should both of them do that? But if Biden had kept quiet when President Trump had proclaimed victory, then that will be what will occupy the space and for the record. So I don't fault Biden on what he has done. Ruben, Rufai, and the lovely Tundu.
So I just want to put this insight out there. The first time that an older challenger beat an incumbent was the 80 elections in America. That was Carter versus Reagan. Reagan was older than Carter. Reagan was a challenger. It beat Jimmy Carter. This might just be the second time. Yeah, the incumbent. This might just be the second time. Biden is the challenger. Biden is older than Trump. And if Biden goes ahead to beat Trump in this election, this is going to be the second time that the older challenger will beat an incumbent. And when you look at, the core issues, I'll relate it to the 80 elections. What was the core issue in the 1980 elections in America? Iran hostage crisis. That went on and on and on for a while, even during the election, and it was said that Carter didn't do a lot as regards that. What are the key issues here? Coronavirus. But as of yesterday, I will say, I came out, I thought at first that, coronavirus didn't matter. But obviously it was certain that those that voted, the mail-in votes that voted earlier, had made their mind. And one of the things that helped them in making their minds was the coronavirus. All of this Trump is saying, I think Trump should calm down. You know why I said that? These votes that are not getting in on time, it was still the same Trump that compromised the postal system, with the man that was a donor to the Trump campaign, DeJoy, leading the postal system. That man had to go to the parliament, to the Congress, to be able to explain that voters' vote will not be slowed down. It was this the same Trump that ensured that enough funding didn't get in there because he thought he was going to be able to manipulate the law that says when the vote comes in 2-3 days after, that they shouldn't count it. But he failed in Pennsylvania. They went to the state Supreme Court and he failed. So he should take it for what it is. If they counted and Biden finally emerged, I think what is important for America is for them to unite the country. And Biden has started the road to unity yesterday when he said, if I'm elected, it's not going to be a red or a blue America. It's going to be the United States of America. Let's see how it unfolds in a couple of days.
I have a different parallel where Reagan is concerned. Like Reagan, President Trump commands enormous, well, almost slavish adoration from his followers or whatever you want to call them. Reagan was extremely popular. He won landslide victories. And this just goes to show that even with Trump's botched handling of coronavirus, that whole blue wave did not materialize. There was no landslide for the Democrats, and the Democrats need to face that fact. Biden is a very mature politician, so him saying he's going to try and build bridges and mend fences is not so much any kind of a favor that he's doing to the American public. It's also for the Democratic Party. The fact of the matter is that the country is speaking really loudly. There's a huge base for Donald Trump. No matter how divisive he is, he needs to be more centrist. We see what happened in the House of Representatives, that the Democrats were able to hold the House, as they call it. And you know, you had the squad, those 4 ladies come back. So there is a room in the American political space for the more socialist tendencies. But America generally is centrist, and Joe Biden would do well to remember that if he does manage to beat Donald Trump. Regarding Donald Trump, we all know he's a really litigious person. He loves to go to court. He's always done, even from his, property development, era. But he needs to be clear on the predicates. Like you said, in some states, it's saying stop the votes. In some states, count the votes. It doesn't depend on you and where you're winning. That is not what democracy is about. Donald Trump can sometimes be quite juvenile in his approach. The fact of the matter is that the people have the right to be heard. Every ballot that was cast before or on election day must be counted. Those votes are legitimate. And it's really disgraceful of him to try and argue otherwise, because the results do not appear to favor him.
Well, I don't know how much time we have.
Even if President Trump exits White House, his divisive politics will continue to linger for some time to come.
Oh, yes.
But the priority will be, as we said earlier, the need to unite the country and to take the country through a process of healing and reconciliation. But I was going to ask you, this American election looks very much like a third world election, like an African election. No, we have demonstrators.
Comparing to Africa. Compare with Latin America, where you have good dictators also.
We have demonstrators on the streets of Phoenix, Arizona, in New York, in Minneapolis, all of them insisting on their choices one way or the other. And then we have a curious situation whereby you have the incumbent, the president, complaining about the theft of votes by the Democrats who are in the opposition, whereas in Africa, it's usually the
other way around.
The other way around. So, I was wondering what you make of that.
Ruben,
and whether indeed at the end of the day, we could have riots, we could have violence on the streets, particularly in those contentious states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan.
Yes, you see, Ruben, this is the beauty of having strong institutions. Despite the hoopla and the hula baloo, counting is going on. Nobody is sending soldiers there to take over the counting center. Counting is going on as if nobody is talking. That is the beauty of having institutions that are strong, and that is what we should take away from this election. But they need to learn a few things. For President Donald Trump, the election should not be a do-or-die affair. He should ask President Goodluck Jonathan, and Ruben, you know, if there's anybody who should be advising Trump now, I think President Jonathan should put a call across to him on how to take situations like this.
Well, the problem with President Trump is that he has never learned to be presidential. And of course, a former president said he didn't quite grow into the job. Coming out yesterday to declare victory for himself and his party, I thought that was quite unprecedented. And it was no surprise that Twitter and Facebook had to remove the statement that he put out there. President Biden spoke with, a lot of maturity. Vice President Biden spoke with a lot of maturity when he said,
that's his name, President Biden. I like that.
When he said, look, they're very optimistic that they were going to win, and his supporters should not, worry. And it does look like at the end of the day, Biden is going to win. So President Trump may be already experiencing, what do they call that thing? Is it withdrawal syndrome? Yes. With the prospect of defeat that faces him and his party. Although the margin will be very small, will be very close. because if you look at the margin, the current margins as at this morning in those states, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Nevada, even Arizona, that margin is really very close. But with Biden already having 264 electoral votes, as some platforms have reported, he just needs 6. Even if it's just Nevada and one other one that he takes, or if at the end of the day he wins Pennsylvania, then of course he will have emerged as president.
Well, I have to say, in Nigeria, when we had who was termed as a Supreme Court governor, that's Hope Uzodinma, the Supreme Court and the ruling party were completely flayed. But in America, we've had a Supreme Court president who was the leader of the free world, appointed by Supreme Court, which was pretty embarrassing for what's supposed to be the world's greatest democracy. And it's things like this that encourage a character like Donald Trump to start making threats to go to the Supreme Court. And you, Mr. Ifeni, know very well my view on that. And he speaks assuming that electoral case can go straight to the Supreme Court. It goes to show that all his hopes are there. That's not how it works, of course. You only go straight to the Supreme Court if it's a territorial dispute. If it's an electoral case, it has to go through the system to end up in the Supreme Court. But that's where his mind is, and there's a reason why he's banking on that. So Amy Coney Barrett might soon get her time in the spotlight. She's waiting in the wings to do what she was appointed to do.
I hear on good authority that she's been consulting, she's been hearing conversations as regards this, definitely when it goes there.
Well, of course, that's why she was appointed.
And the truth has to be said. I think to a large extent, the year 2000 election set a very bad precedent for America.
Yes, it's a disaster.
It's a disaster.
A lot of people criticized George W. Bush. He was criticized as being really silent.
Yeah.
A lot of Republicans, people like Mitt Romney, came out against Donald Trump's excesses, even though they're true blue Republicans. They were within the Republican Party, never Trump. May I finish?
Okay.
There was still never Trump within the Republican Party. And George W. Bush was criticized for his conspicuous absence, that he could have come out and criticized Donald Trump and tried to redeem the Republican Party. But in a way, I don't blame George W. Bush. He was flayed for the, Iraq war. And so I think he's still licking his wounds there. And also, his second term was shrouded in this kind of sleaze. So really, what leg does he have to stand on? If he had come out against Donald Trump, the knives would have come out for him. When you don't really have a mandate, then you can't really express any views.
For me, the bright light in all of this is the fact that a certain project called the Lincoln Project started. There was a group of Republicans that said they were going to take the soul of their country back, and that group was led by the former chairman of the Republican Party, Michael Steele, was a senior advisor on that group. And it just shows that you can disagree with your government, but you must support your country, most importantly.
Well, on the electoral suits that we're likely to see and that we're already seeing, now, those cases, yes, can go through the system all the way to the Supreme Court. Yeah. The big fear is that you have a Supreme Court that is weighted 6-3 in favor, as been alleged, of Republicans. But thank you very much, Emmanuel Ifeni. Yes, we'll see you tomorrow morning.